Hey y'all, it's Jasmine from Blogging Money Live. Welcome to this month's blogging Q&A. I'm so happy that I have this opportunity to talk with you guys again. I love doing these blog Q&As because it's a great opportunity to just talk blogging, right? I love blogging. I love talking about it. And I love answering you guys' questions when it comes to blogging. But before we get into all of that, I want to start by introducing myself a little bit for those of you who may be your first time being here, and also telling you about the format of the series today. So I'm here, I am live, and I'm here to answer your questions. If you have questions for me, you can post them in the comments, whether you are on YouTube or Facebook. I know I'm streaming live to both. Just go ahead and share your question in the comments, and I will answer it live. Now, I always like to make sure that I'm not here by myself, and I see a few of you guys are jumping on. Feel free to post a comment. Let me know who's here and where you are in the world. A little bit about me. I'm Jasmine. Where I am in the world, I am in Costa Rica. And as for blogging, my background comes from me starting a blog some 10 years ago now, actually a little bit more than that. I started my blog as a way for me to just kind of talk about some of the things that I was experiencing at that time. I had just graduated from college and was going into a recession. It gave me a lot of anxiety. I talked to friends who were experiencing the exact same thing, and that's what led to me wanting to write about it and just have a place where people who were experiencing something similar to what I was experiencing can read and feel comfortable knowing that they were not the only ones who were experiencing that same phenomenon. And I know that story is something one I've told many times, and I'm sure it's probably similar for many of you guys. You probably got into blogging because you had something happen in your life that you just felt like you needed to share, or you figured something out that you needed to make sure that other people knew how to do on their own. So yeah, I love hearing other people's blogging stories. If you want to share yours, feel free to post those in the comments as well. Tell me about your blog, what's it called, and how did you get into blogging? And I'll make sure to highlight you in the video here. And if you share the link to your blog, I'll also make sure that you get a shout out in our description as well. Okay, so let's jump in, you guys. When it comes to these blogging Q&As, I can talk about a lot of things blogging. There are some things that I'm not as good at when it comes to blogging. Technical things being one of those things. But whatever your question is, I will make sure I can point you in the right direction of whatever the answer may be. All right. So what I like to do is start talking about a topic that has been on my mind. And I definitely want to talk about something in particular today with you guys if I don't have any questions or comments in the meantime. So as I'm talking, feel free to post whatever questions that you may have in the comments, and I'll answer those along the way. All right, let's jump in. There is a topic that has been on my mind for a little bit, and this is because many of you know me and my husband, Chris, we just started a brand new blog. Now, I've been blogging for 10 years with a blog called Miss Millennium Magazine. And just this year, in August, actually, my husband, Chris, and we started a brand new blog called Blogging Money Life. Now, this one is a little different compared to the blog I started 10 years ago because is exclusively about blogging. We teach other bloggers many of the things that we learned, or at least that I've learned over the 10 years. And what's cool about it is this is my this is my husband Chris's first time blogging. So a lot of things that you'll see from his experience comes like, hey, I figured this thing out because this is my first time blogging and I'm learning how to do it right with you guys. And that means that we have a lot of interesting discussions at home when it comes to blogging. And one of those discussions that we've been having lately is monetization, right? Our blog is only a couple of months old. Hey everyone. Okay, so hopefully this works a lot better. Sorry about that. We are having some very weird internet issues here, but I switched to my internet on my phone, so hopefully that will be a lot smoother for you guys. So just jumping back into what I was talking about, one of the conversations that Chris and I have been having here when it comes to our brand new blog is about monetization. So when it comes to monetization, we've only been blogging for 2 months for Blogging Money Life. I mean, that's when our blog started, like mid-August, actually. And in that time, we've had to work on, building our traffic, growing our social media, and of course, making sure that we are putting ourselves in a position to be able to bring in income with it. And in those first 2 months, you guys, we have already brought in income with our blog, which is awesome, right? Now, this may be confusing for some people because I know, one of the big questions I get the most is, at what point can I start monetizing? Is it when I've been blogging for 3 months? Is it when I reach this many followers on, Facebook? Or is it when I get this many page views on my blog? Well, if you want to know some of that data, as far as like page views and how many social media subscribers we have, and all those things, we cover that in great detail in our monthly blog income reports. You can check those out. Chris does them every month. He does a really good job of going into great detail of everything when it comes to our brand new blog. And you can see what those stats look like yourself, to see what it looks like to actually monetize your blog and still be new, still not have a whole lot of page views, and still not have a ton of social media followers. It's still possible to bring in income. So with all of that said, today I wanted to focus more on some misconceptions that people have when it comes to monetizing your blog. Some of the myths that we have in our minds as far as like, oh, this doesn't work, or I can't do this thing until this point in my blog. I have heard so many things where I thought like, man, that's crazy. Like, no, of course you can bring in income. One thing I love to tell people is, if I knew, if I knew now, if I knew then what I know now when it comes to blogging, I would have been able to monetize so much sooner. And this experiment we have going with Blogging Money Life is a perfect example of that. We haven't been blogging long. It's already bringing in income. We're already getting organic traffic. We're growing our social media followers organically, and it's doing really well. So I want to start with one of the questions that I know I get pretty often, and that question is, how many page views do I need to have before I can bring in income with my blog? All right. So I know this is one of the questions I get most often, and if you have a better one, feel free to post your questions in the comments below. I am happy to answer questions live for you guys when it comes to blogging, anything blogging related. It doesn't even have to be related to the topic that I'm talking about today. But yeah, feel free to post your blogging questions in the comments. Anyway, the question I get is, how many page views do I need to have in order to start monetizing my blog? Okay, the answer to that question is the answer to, I think, all the questions when it comes to how many page views do I need to have when it comes to my blog, or how many social media followers do I need to have to monetize my blog, or how long do I have to blog? Is a trick question. Okay. And the answer is none of the above. Like, you don't have to have a certain number of page views. You don't have to have a certain number of Facebook or social media followers in general. You don't have to have any of those things. There's not a certain number before you can start bringing in income with your blog. But there are some criteria that you need to have set up on your blog before you can monetize. And I think that's the biggest misconception that people have. It's not a matter of, okay, I have this many numbers, now I should see the money start coming in. It doesn't work like that. You just have to make sure your blog is set up to be monetized, period. Now, if I'm going to go over some of those things today, as far as like what are the things you need to have set up on your blog in order for it to be monetized. But I also want to point out that we actually have a challenge happening next week where I'm going to go into great detail about all of this for free for 5 days. So every day I'm going to be tackling different things that you need to have set up on your blog. And I'm going to show you how to do each of those things every day. I have different assignments and worksheets created for you guys so that you can go through and do it in real time. And you'll also be able to ask questions. There's a Facebook group. You can ask questions in real time and I can jump in and answer them. And then I also do another live Q&A midweek next week in the challenge as well. So before I move forward, I do want to make sure I give you guys that information so that you can sign up for it sooner rather than later. Okay, so let me grab that really quick, and then I'm going to jump into a few of the things that I know that you need to have. These are must-haves when it comes to monetizing your blog. All right, one moment. Let me grab the link for you guys. Okay. 1 second, everyone. Here it is. All right. I have the link here for the challenge. So you can check out in the comments here. Here is the link for the challenge next week. There you go. And like I said, during this challenge, I'm going to be showing you guys everything that you need to get your blog ready so you can start bringing in income with it. It's free to join, and I think you're going to get a lot of great information from it. All right. Here are a few things that you need to have on your blog in order to make sure that it's ready to be monetized. The first thing you need to have is a schedule. If you don't have a blog schedule where you are consistently publishing blog content every single week, you're not ready to monetize. And the reason for that is, let's say, for example, you want to work with brands, right? Working with brands is when they look at your blog and say, hey, I like your site. I would love it if you could write something on your blog for my company, and I'll pay you to write that post on your blog. All right. Sounds simple enough, right? Well, one of the first things they're going to do is look to see if you're consistent, right? Are you publishing content on a regular basis, or are you just publishing an article when you feel like it? They want to work with professionals. So making sure that you are consistently writing content on your blog is one of the first things that you need to do if you want to monetize, okay? This also makes it too, not just for brands that you want to work with, but for all the other entities that are helping to grow your blog. Let's take Google, for example. One of the best sources of traffic that you can get is from Google. And Google has this whole algorithm where they're saying this site is better than that site, and that site is better than this site. And one of the things that they look at to see how well your site is doing is how consistent you are with creating content. Once they figure out what the pattern is on your site when it comes to creating content, they know to crawl your site on those days, and you are going to get more organic traffic that way. All right. So not only is it, a great way to monetize for brands, but also to get more traffic to your site, being consistent. And then also that consistency piece, designating time so that you're dedicating it to your blog on a regular basis, makes it so that you do take it seriously. It's a job. It's not just something that you can do because you feel like doing it this one day and not doing it again later on. If you want to bring in money with it, you have to be able to designate time to focus on it and let it grow. So being consistent, that is the first thing that is most important when it comes to monetizing your blog. I think the second thing that is pretty important is making sure you have the right pages set up on your site so that you can start bringing in income. One of those pages needs to be an about page, right? Or about me page. So people know, what the blog is about, who you are, what are some of the topics that you're going to be talking about on this blog. This helps for, again, SEO reasons, just so Google can see, okay, I know when someone's searching for example, Blogging Money Life, if someone is searching for blogging topics, I can refer them to Blogging Money Life because they have all these keywords on their homepage, on their about page, that talks about this is what you need to know about blogging. So having the right pages set up. Another page that you must have is a contact me page. And I know a lot of bloggers shy away from having a contact me page because, of course, no one wants to get spammed, right? There's a lot of people spamming your email and doing a lot of annoying things. But if you don't put a contact me page on your site, how are brands going to be able to reach out to you and say, hey, I want to work with you? It's pretty difficult to do so. If they can't find it on your site, they're probably going to move on to the next blogger. So having a contact me page, that's another big one. Another thing that I think is important is a media kit. This isn't something that necessarily has to live on your page where people can access it, but it's good to have one in case a brand does reach out to you, right? You have your contact information on your site. They email you and they say, hey, I want to work with you. You want to make sure that you have a media kit ready to go that you can send to them. It should look professional, because having that ready shows like, hey, I'm a professional. I'm not just here just doing this on a whim. And it should include all of your stats. So for those of you who don't know what a media kit is, it's a document that you have. Right. Looks like I am losing you guys again. Give me 1 second. Stall out. Uh-oh. All right, can you guys hear me okay? All right, I'm gonna keep going. And if for some reason you can't hear me, please let me know in the comments and we'll go from there. Okay, so I was saying a media kit is a document that you share that has stats about your blog and your social media, so brands know more about you and can gauge whether or not you're a good fit for whatever they're looking for when it comes to advertising. So it's good to have a media kit. What other pages should you have? Those are some good ones to start. For a lot of other things you may want to do, it's good to have a privacy policy on your website. That's just more just to cover yourself and any issues you may run into later on from a legal perspective. And then a terms of service page as well. These are good pages for people to know, like, hey, are you collecting information from them? Let's say if they sign up for your email list on your website. And then also if you were to collect people's information, there's some things you have to disclose on your site. So just some things to make sure that you have. If you want to monetize, let's say for example, with affiliates, a lot of affiliate channels, they won't add you on to their program unless they see that you have a privacy policy. Not all of them do this, but yeah, that's one page that you want to definitely make sure that you have. And then I think that's it as far as like pages that you should have on your site. So what we talked about so far, what do you need to have to be monetized on your blog? You want to make sure you're consistent, right? When it comes to content, you want to make sure that you have the right pages on your site. That's important. You want to make sure you have some fundamental things set up on your blog so that you can track what's actually happening. And one of those things is Google Analytics, right? For those of you who don't know what Google Analytics is, it's a free tool. You put this code on your website, and it's very friendly for people who are not technical. If you have a WordPress blog, you can download a plugin that's free and just sign up for Google Analytics, and it shows you step by step how to get it set up on your website. And this makes it so that you can track how many page views and things you have coming to your site. Now, remember how I said you need to have a media kit? Well, you can't have a media kit with your stats if you don't know what your stats are, right? So having things like Google Analytics set up on your site, very important. And then I think something else that you need to have in mind before you can start monetizing your blog is how do you monetize, right? This is a mistake I made when I started my blog, my first blog. I had no idea how bloggers made money. I honestly thought that the only way I could make money is through advertising. I thought I could sign up for Google AdSense and I was going to be rich, and then that was going to be the end of it. Well, that couldn't be further from the truth. The reality is Google AdSense really doesn't pay that much. And if you want to make any substantial income from it, you have to get a lot a lot of traffic. I'm talking maybe hundreds of thousands of page views to your site, for it to be any type of money that makes sense. I think just from a perspective of being able to pay bills with it. So that's something that I would say is knowing the different ways you can monetize. I'll tell you a few of the ways that I know. One is affiliates, right? Affiliate marketing is when you have a product from one brand and they say, hey, if anyone clicks on your affiliate link and buys it, I'm going to give you a percentage of the sale. This is great because they don't really expire. Well, a lot of times they don't expire. You can create a blog post with your affiliate link in it. And even if that blog post is a year old, you can still, count on the fact that you're going to get paid when people click and buy from that link of yours. The thing is, you have to write persuasive content for people to be able to buy, right? And do the action that you want to do, click and buy. Another way you can bring in income is with advertising. I mentioned that already. Google AdSense is typically the one people sign up for initially. There are some really good advertising platforms out there that pay way more than Google AdSense. One that we're on right now for Miss Millennium Magazine is Mediavine, which I love. I love Mediavine. You can make a few hundred to several thousands of dollars with Mediavine. I know a lot of bloggers where this is their main source of income because they do such a great job with their traffic on their site. So advertising is another way that you can bring in income. And then on that same path with advertising, you can also do manual advertising as well. It doesn't have to go through a network. You can work with different brands and say, hey, you can buy an ad space on my homepage for this amount of money for this amount of time. And I know that there's some bloggers that do that as well. I think that takes a little bit more work because now you have to pitch or figure out what that price form looks like for different advertising on your site, but it's another way to bring in income with your blog. Another thing that people do when it comes to monetizing, and this is one of my favorite ways, is doing sponsored post opportunities. And this is what I mentioned before as far as like working with brands, right? You have a brand that says, hey, I want to work with you, or even the other way around, you say, hey, brand, I love this brand. I want to talk about it on my blog. Here's my price if you want a blog post written about your product that you do. This is one of my favorite ways to make money blogging because I was not getting a whole lot of traffic on my site the first time I got a sponsored post. Honestly, I didn't get paid that much for the sponsored post opportunity I got, but I was just so flattered by the fact that someone wanted to pay me to write something on my blog. It felt really good. So, so long as you play your cards right when it comes to setting your blog up properly and then knowing how to talk with different brands, that's something that you can bring in income with. I mean, you have a blog this month, you can make money next month with sponsored posts. Super simple to do. What's another way? Another way you can bring in income was with products. Many of you probably seen that before as well. Where you create a course or an ebook or a service of some kind. If there's something that you're good at, maybe it's editing people's papers or I don't know, teaching someone something that you know very well. That's a really lucrative way to bring in income. I see a lot of bloggers too that do coaching of different kinds, whether it be like family coaching or parenting coaching or relationships. That's another good way to bring in income with your blog. Hey y'all. Okay, so sorry about that. So many internet issues today. Okay, so what I was saying is when it comes to the monetizing bit, there's so many little things you can do in those categories that I mentioned before when it comes to monetizing, that can just kind of fall into line with any of those things. So for example, if you have an email list, right? One thing that you can do is advertise an email on your email list. I think this falls under sponsored posts, but or sponsored content because it's an email that you're creating. Um, so yeah, that can be one way to bring in income. Or you could do some type of partnership with another blogger, and you guys like cross promote each other's affiliate products. That could be another way that you can bring in income. I mean, there's just a number of creative ways you can come up with to make money with your blog, so long as you're, thinking about what assets you have and using those to the best of your ability. Okay, so I see we have a few questions that have come in while I've been just yapping away. So I'm going to tackle some of you guys' questions that you have here. And then, of course, like if you guys have any other questions, let me know by posting them in the comments and I will answer them live. Okay, let's see here. So the first question came from Live. How do I sign up for sponsored posts? All right, so this is a good question because honestly, there are a few ways that you can go about signing up for sponsored posts. If you wanted to, the way I started when it came to sponsored posts, I actually had a brand email me. They said, hey, this is our brand. We think you're a good fit for our brand. Can you write something? So again, making sure that your contact page is out there so people can reach out to you is probably one of the best things you can do when it comes to just getting sponsored content together. The second way you can do this is by signing up for influencer networks or sponsored post networks. What these are different channels where the brand goes to these networks to find bloggers. So you want to make sure you have a profile on these channels so that if they're looking for someone whose blog looks like yours, it's easy to find you. Right. So a few of my favorite sponsored post networks are I like IZEA. They're a pretty good network. They are a huge network. They've acquired many other influencer network channels, and they've just been doing it right for a long, long time. So IZEA, that's IZEA.com. It's pretty simple to sign up for their platform, and they always have opportunities, always. Another one of my favorites are Massive Sway. They have a really good platform. I think pretty fair as far as like pay goes. And they work with a lot of big name brands too. So Massive Sway is another good one. I can keep naming the ones off the top of my head as far as sponsored post networks, or I can give you a list of some of my favorite ones. I actually work on a list every single year. It's right now it's at 150, and I give this away for free for people to sign up for my email list. I'm going to grab that list for you guys and post it in the comments so that you have that. My list of 150 sponsored posts networks, and it's a great way to find different sponsored post opportunities. So, really good question. All right, so I have another question here from JJ. JJ says, how can you have an about me if you don't want to show your face? Okay, so I think that is a good question. I think a lot of people get confused, like your blog doesn't have to be personal. I see a lot of blogs that are very much geared towards a topic, right? I do feel like a lot of personal blogs, they can go really far in regard to just having that connection with people. But that's not to say that there aren't a ton of successful blogs that don't have a section that's dedicated to the person who put this together. Instead, what you want to have on your about page is something that talks about what your blog is about, right? Talk about what your initiative was. What's the story that got this website started? I told you my story in the beginning of this call, right? What motivated me to get started with blogging. Those are things that people connect with and is really going to make a difference on if they subscribe to your email list, if they go to your social medias and follow you there. But you need to have a compelling story. That at the end of the day, that's all that matters. It's okay if you don't want to show your face, but just make sure you understand, one, who's your target audience, like what will resonate with them, and then two, make sure that your story is compelling. If it's not about you, it's about your brand or your company or what you stand for. And that's what's really going to make a big difference with people when it comes to if they decide to buy from you or not. Funny story, JJ, I'll tell you a little bit about me. When I first started my blog, Miss Millennium Magazine, I had these big vision, goals for it. I had all these things that I wanted it to be, and I didn't want it to be about me. I actually wanted to be behind the scenes and not show my face and make it more about the people who I was featuring. So I did not have my face on my blog for maybe the first couple of years while I was on it. So I thought that was something that I chose to do, and I thought it would be beneficial. But what ended up happening, because I did not have a good story for why I was starting my blog, and I did not do much when it came to, I guess, telling people why they should subscribe. It was just very empty. It didn't really have a good reason for people. It was just another site, right? So I will say that if you want to go that route, make sure you still find a way to emotionally connect with your audience there, so that people still feel compelled to sign up and follow you and continue to look into your content. But really good question, really good question. And I think that's something that a lot of bloggers face. A part of it, I think, is just feeling like, oh, well, I kind of want to put my foot out there and say like, hey, I know what's going on, I want to blog, but just in case it doesn't work out, I want to just keep it anonymous. And the thing is, like, blogging is scary, man. Like, I always tell people, like, my first blog post that I wrote, well, my finger was shaking above the button to hit publish. I was so scared about what people would say about the content that I wrote. And honestly, like, it's just something that gets easier. It's easier with time. And then, of course, you can be selective about what content that you want to be out there. Just because you're revealing certain things about yourself doesn't mean that everyone has to know everything that's going on with you. So just know that you have that control over whatever you decide to post. But I'm glad you asked that question, because I feel like that goes into another whole category of questions that I get from bloggers about just feeling insecure about your blog in general, about not wanting people to know about it initially, or not deciding whether or not to share your face or your name even on your blog. So that's a personal decision for sure, but just some things to keep in mind when it comes to those type of things. Okay, let's see here. I'm going to go ahead and I see that Chris shared the list of influencer networks. Awesome. Thanks for doing that, Chris. So if you guys are looking for that list of 150 sponsor post opportunities, that is there. So you can go ahead and get those and get more sponsor posts opportunities. And like I said, when it comes to sponsored posts, like, you do not need to have a ton of traffic on your blog. You don't have to have a whole lot of page views or social media followers to start bringing income. So don't hesitate to sign up for something like that. Just check out those networks and start building your profile. Okay. So, we have another question from JJ. He says, explain blog themes, please. Okay, blog themes. I'm assuming you're talking about blog themes when it comes to what you download on WordPress, right? If that's not what you're talking about, let me know, because you could be talking about like having a certain topic or a niche for your blog. And if that's the case, that's not what I'm about to talk about right now. So let me know if you're talking about a niche versus a theme, like a technical theme to have on your site for design purposes. I'm going to go into that since that's what I assume you're talking about. Correct me in the comments if I'm wrong. So a theme for your blog is pretty much the overall layout of what your site is going to look like. There are a lot of different networks out there that create themes that you can choose from. I personally use Restore 316 themes on both the Blogging Money Life blog and okay, perfect. We're talking about the right things, the technical thing. Cool. So Restore 316 is what I use. I'll give you a link. It's my affiliate link for them. But I mean, man, they do such a good job when it comes to themes. So think about it like this. If you have a blog, right, you can code it by hand, or you can buy something that pretty much has like, it's 95% of the way there. All you have to do is kind of fill in the blanks. That is what a theme is. It's something that is 95% of the way there as far as the design, and all you have to do is fill in the blanks. If you go to that site I just shared, Restore 316, you can go on there and kind of shop around for themes. And what's cool about themes is they have them categorized by whatever niche you like or what type of blog you're trying to run. So I don't know if you've ever been to a like a niche blog. Let's say, for example, there could be a blog about strollers, right? That's the entire blog. That's all they talk about. And that theme for that blog or that design will look very different from a lifestyle blogger, someone who has pictures of themselves and is sharing details about what they ate for breakfast and different things like that. So they have them categorized based on whatever your niche is. And you just kind of scroll through and see like, all right, this seems like what I want it to be. And what's cool about different themes is you can decide, like, they'll have like 5 different versions of a homepage, for example, or they have like 4 different versions of an about page. And like I said, all you have to do is fill in the blanks, change the picture, change out the text, and you're done. It's themes are what makes it so that you do not have to be a coder to set up a blog. I like Restore 316 because not only do they have beautiful themes that can be used and changed, like, so they look completely different than what they actually give you, but they have a lot of training too. They do a lot of free training that shows you more about how to make your site look better. And they also have services. So if you buy one of their themes and you're like, I have no idea what the heck I'm doing, you can pay them to set it up for you and make it a little bit more custom. So I hope that answers your question. If not, let me know. I'm happy to go into a little bit more detail for you. Great questions, JJ. I know there are a few more of you on here. If you have questions, feel free to share them, and I'll be happy to get an answer for you. So overall, you guys, as far as like my topic today, I want to just make sure that the message is clear. You don't have to be a huge blogger to make money. You don't have to have been blogging for a long time to bring in income. You don't have to have a huge social media following. You are definitely capable of bringing in income. You just have to know the ways to do it. And as long as you know those ways, then you are set. You're solid. You are going to see income come in with your blog. It is just as possible this year as it was 10 years ago to bring in income with your blog. I know because I did start a blog 10 years ago, and then I started a blog this year, and both are bringing in income. So it's definitely doable. If you're still stuck and you're like, well, I don't know where to start, I think a good place you could start is with the challenge that we're hosting next week. It starts on Monday. You can sign up. It's completely free. Like I mentioned, here's a link for that challenge here that I posted. Definitely check it out. Sign up. I'm going to be giving you guys a different video tutorial every day, Monday through Friday. I'll also be giving you guys different assignments every day that is going to be associated with that lesson. And then of course, like, you'll have access to this private Facebook group, or you'll have access to me, and I'll be answering your questions every single day. So if you run into any issues with the challenge, that is perfectly okay. I can answer those questions for you live. So it's just a really cool, free way to get your blog ready to monetize. My whole purpose of this challenge is to address many of those questions that we talked about today, the insecurities that people have when it comes to bringing in money with your blogs. You're capable of doing it, and I'm here to hold your hand and show you how to do it along the way, get you ready to go. So yeah, I hope to see many of you guys there at the challenge because it's going to be awesome. Let's see here. Hey y'all, I'm back. So sorry about that. I had jumped from 3 different internet services tonight, so I'm so sorry about that. But yeah, I was just saying that I wanted to make sure that you guys were assured that you can do this. It's definitely possible to bring in income with your blog even today. And if I can do it, there's no reason Hey guys, so sorry about that. So because we're having so many internet issues, I think I'm going to just go ahead and end this one here. And if you have more questions, feel free to post them in the comments and I will answer them there. So sorry for all the internet issues today, you guys. And I will see y'all next month and the Q&A for November. All right, I'll see you next time. Bye.